if you are going to be a great man, there's one thing you have to have, and that is a deep capacity. We have to have a deep capacity for suffering, a deep capacity for the amount of things for which we can take responsibility, a deep capacity for the amount of weight that we can bear, and so much more. We're going to get into that and several other things in today's YouTube episode. All right, so today we're talking about capacity. Now, this is something I think that we don't talk about enough, but something that I've realized in my pursuit and understanding Catholic manhood is so important and essential to the role that I play as a husband, as a father, and as a leader in my community, in my world, in my life, right? And in my sphere of influence. So if you want to be a great man, this is the channel for you. This is the video for you. And I hope that you'll get a lot of value out of what we have today. If you do, I encourage you to like the video, subscribe to the channel. All right, without further ado, let's get into this episode. So today on capacity, what does that mean? So we have to have a capacity for a number of different things. And at the intro, I told you about a few of them, and let's take a deeper look at some of those. So you have to have a deep capacity for suffering. As the man of the family, you are the rock, right? We are meant to be the support system. I think when you see a lot of good content out there, there's a lot of great content on Instagram, on not really on Twitter. I don't think there's anything great on Twitter, but you have on Instagram, on YouTube, and just kind of in the general world. A lot of the things that men will talk about is just this responsibility, this weight that we bear, whether that's the weight of being a provider or just the fact that you have to be able to have this capacity for suffering because of the fact that you carry a lot, right? You're going to carry a lot of weight for other people. And a lot of that weight is emotional. A lot of that weight is difficult, right? So we have to be willing to suffer and we have to be able to suffer. And how do we develop that capacity for suffering? We embrace difficult things. I know in my life, and just to give you a quick overview, if you're new to this channel, if you're new to my life, if you're new to my content, my name is Nathan Crankfield. I grew up with a father who had 7 kids by 5 different women. We are estranged and do not have a very good relationship. A lot of that is because of the fact that he's just been a pretty negative influence in my life. And that's been a really painful place in my journey to manhood. I'm now a husband and a father, which I take very seriously. It's my pride and joy. It's my favorite 2 roles to play in this world. And now I create content helping to give men purpose, direction, and motivation to become great men, to become great individuals. And so I also went through U.S. Army Ranger School, Airborne School. I served in the 82nd Airborne Division as an infantry officer for 4 years. Now I work as a senior partnership executive at Hallow, the Catholic Prayer app, host the Seeking Excellence podcast, and do a bunch of other fun stuff in my life. And so to talk about gaining suffering, I can tell you that Ranger School was a lot of suffering for me. I lost 20 pounds in the first 21 days, the first 3 weeks of being there, which is just the first phase. So you have Derby phase, then you have mountain phase, then you have Florida, aka swamp phase. And so for me, learning about suffering, that was my master class, right? That was my master's degree, maybe even a PhD in suffering, whether it was cold, hunger, fatigue, you name it, right? We went through it while we were there. And so a lot of mental, emotional suffering as well, spiritual difficulties, all that kind of stuff. And so really struggled, was really going through it and really had a difficult time. But I learned through that, wow, I'm capable of going so much further than I thought I was, right? The point where we think we're at our max, when you're forced to go beyond that, you really start to see what your capacity for suffering is, what you're capable of doing. And what Ranger School does best, one of the biggest points of the suffering and the difficulty and not letting you eat and keeping you up for, days on end, is to see, can you operate? Can you be effective? Can you still lead even in the worst conditions, even in the worst circumstances? Are you able to still step up and to be the man? Are you still able to step up and make decisions? Are you still able to step up and lead people in the direction that they need to go and to accomplish the mission? And so how do we learn how to suffer? How do we expand our capacity for suffering? One, we don't shy from it, right? When difficult things come up, when hard things happen in our lives, we face them head on and we take them head on, and we don't try to stuff them down and hide them away, but we recognize this is happening. This kind of sucks. This is what I can do about it. If there's nothing I can do about it, maybe I just take some time to grieve, to allow myself to experience and feel the emotions that are attached with that experience, and to seek eventually, and obviously the sooner the better, without rushing through our own grieving process, the sooner that we can get out into other people, the better we're going to be. Right. I think one of the examples Jordan Peterson gives for that is he says, you should strive to be the man at your father's funeral that other people can rely on for strength. You've spent your time before the funeral mourning the loss of your father. You have mourned the loss of your father. Maybe if you're blessed, you have some of a heads up, right? There's some mourning time that you're going to be losing a loved one. And you can be the person that can be the support system for other people. The sooner that I can get outside of myself and start to think about, okay, how can I be there for others? How can I support other people, whether that be your mom or your siblings, cousins, whatever, the sooner I can do that, the better off I'm going to be. The better off things are going to be for me and for everybody else. That's what it looks like to grow your capacity for suffering. Then you also have your capacity for suffering just in your pursuit to provide as a husband and father, right? The working, the being tired. Am I able to get up on time even when I'm exhausted, even when I'm tired, even when I don't feel good? Am I able to help around the house when I'm tired from work? Am I able to kind of keep digging deeper and keep giving my best day after day, week after week, year after year, right? That's a big part of it for sure. Another area where we need to grow our capacity is in our capacity for wisdom. Are you somebody that is a well? Are you somebody that's capable of being deep? Or are you somebody that's just very surface level in all of your conversations, in the things that you do, the things that you say, the things that you're able to provide to people? Do you actually have some depth to you, to your mind, to your soul, that you can actually provide value to other people? Are you able to give them wisdom? Are you able to give them direction that's going to be helpful for them in their life, taking in all of the different aspects of a person's life, right? That's the thing about being a good leader, is we don't just hone in on one aspect, right? So if I'm giving somebody guidance or coaching in their professional life, I need to know their family goals as well if I'm going to be able to help them in their professional life. I need to know their spiritual goals, their physical goals. I need to understand the whole person and have this capacity, this wisdom that is within me that says, okay, I understand personal finance enough, I understand professional world enough, I understand the spiritual life enough, I understand family life enough to be able to give you some well-rounded, good advice, some good insight, to ask good questions, to help ideally lead you to the answers that you are searching for, right? So when we develop that capacity for wisdom, when we continue to sharpen our mind and our soul through prayer and through learning, through reading, we're going to be able to have a deeper well of wisdom and goodness that we can provide to other people. And then my last one that I want to touch on is your capacity for responsibility. How much can God really entrust you? How much can God lay at your feet and put under your umbrella, under your sphere of influence, and say, okay, I can trust and believe that this is in good hands. We have to be able to grow our capacity for responsibility. Are you somebody that struggles just, and I think this is a lot of young guys out there, and I want to encourage you, if this is you out there and you're struggling to get up on time, you're struggling to get your work done in college or in high school, or even if you're, a young professional and you're getting out into the workforce, you're struggling to balance all these things. I've been there for sure. And I'm somebody who takes on typically more than I can handle. And I think that's one of the ways to actually grow. So this is an example of this, right? Sometimes busier is better. Let me say it again. Sometimes busier is better. Everybody bitches and complains about how busy they are. Most people aren't that busy. Most people really don't have that much going on. We're just so accustomed to constantly saying that we're busy. We'll say it no matter what, whether it's true or not. If you have something on the agenda, you'll say, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't take it, I can't do everything. Sometimes busier is better. An example of this, a case study here. When I was in college, I started to pick up on the fact that I was doing a lot of things and I had friends that weren't doing that many things, right? So to give kind of more detail into that, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I had to wake up at 5:30, 5:15, 5:30 to be able to make it to PT in the morning. Now, my freshman and sophomore year, I just attended. Junior year, we're leading PT, and senior year, we're really kind of overseeing the juniors who are leading PT. So I was much more involved, had to keep getting there earlier and earlier as the years went on. Sometimes you have meetings before PT and things like that. Monday nights, I led what was called our POW program, Police Activities League, volunteering in the inner city of Frederick, Maryland, at the police center there, where we, just play games, help young kids with their homework every Monday. On Thursday nights or Friday nights, I was typically leading Bible study. I played in every intramural sport that you can imagine. I was in the honors program. I was usually taking 18 credits. I was playing pickup basketball. I was staying really fit, doing all these different things, right? And just really diving deep. I had daily prayer life of usually 45 minutes a day, 60 minutes a day, meeting with people one-on-one because I'd be giving talks and doing ministry stuff, leading retreats, you name it. I mean, I was just doing a ton of different stuff, right? Volunteering and everything you could think of, from the Special Olympics to, I was also in Big Brothers Big Sisters. So I was doing all kinds of different things, right? And what I realized was my grades were better a lot of times than friends that I had who I think were smarter than me, but all they did was go to school and play basketball, go to school and hang out and do whatever they felt like doing that day. Having ROTC, having club basketball, having the volunteer stuff, it narrowed my window of when I could actually get work done. And so some of these friends would go to the library for 4 hours and get 30 minutes of work done. I would go to the library for an hour and get an hour of work done because I just had that hour-long window to get the work done. And so I wasn't really interested and didn't have time to waste time and misprioritize and just get distracted constantly, because I was like, yo, if I'm here, I'm going to the silent section of the library. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to hang out. This is what I'm here for. And I gotta get it done so I can get my prayer time in and get up to work out in the morning at 5:30 in the morning. Sometimes busier is better. And when you have that opportunity, you can feel overwhelmed, but you start to see like, wait, my grades are getting better. My spiritual life is getting better. I'm making a bigger impact on campus. I'm volunteering. I'm learning a lot. I'm growing. It was overwhelming. It was tiring. I had a lot of, especially women in my life, whether it be my mom or my grandmother, telling me, you're doing too much. You need to slow down. You're going to crash and burn. All this stuff. It's feminine. It's a feminine approach to life. If you're a man, you have to be growing your capacity for responsibility. How much can I entrust to you and expect and assume that it's going to get done? Not just get done, but get done well. You don't want to overwhelm yourself to the point where you truly can't do anything. So there's definitely a tipping point, right? There's a bell curve in it where if you're not doing enough, you're not going to be very effective. Then you get into that kind of sweet spot where you're taking on a lot of responsibility and you're going to be most effective in your life. Then it starts to decrease again as you get more and more, you have too much. You can be overwhelmed, you can be overworked, you can be overloaded, but you can also be underworked, underloaded, where you're not actually thriving as a man. And as you grow, you just get more and more levels of responsibility. You stop managing just your own finances. Now you have family finances. The budget gets bigger. The people who are under your responsibility and under your care get bigger. It expands and grows over time, where you want to get to the point where when you're 50 and 60, you could run a full company. You could be a patriarch of a big family. You could run a side hustle that you've been developing and building for years. You can be a pillar in your community. You can be a coach. You can be all these different things to all these different people, and you can make a massive impact and leave an incredible legacy behind you to where your kids are going to look back at who their father was and be unbelievably proud. And you're going to be able to think about the end of your life and your eulogy and your funeral and the trail that you'll leave behind you of the impact that you've made, because you've embraced the need to expand your capacity by constantly getting outside of your comfort zone and taking on more and more as you grew the man that you were meant to be. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you want more content like this and deeper dives into certain topics and coaching sessions with me, you can join us at seekingexcellence.locals.com, where you can be a free or paid member. You'll get access to weekly live streams, articles, newsletters, all kinds of fun stuff in there, and other resources that I have to help you to become the best man that you can be. All right. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Now go be your best.